Since the invention of the crossbow, man has worked continuously to try and improve the cocking methods for the crossbow, but there have always been three problems. First, the crossbow is able to store an incredible amount of energy in its limbs. It takes a great amount of strength to pull the string back, usually requiring the use of both hands. Secondly, the crossbow string needs to be pulled back evenly on both sides of the rail. Lastly, the crossbow string needs to be cocked quickly. All of these problems have resulted in a variety of solutions being developed to use as cocking tools. That is why this lesson is going to be on cocking the crossbow. This is how you do a manual cocking of your crossbow. This is probably the worst way of cocking your crossbow. You are not going to be able to get an even-sided pull, so one side or the other is going to be just a little bit farther back, and that's going to change your shot. It's going to pull your shot to one side or the other. Second, when you're doing it with a manual, it's going to start digging into your fingers after a while, and it's going to start hurting your hand. Third, it's the easiest possible way of getting out there and accidentally dry firing. You can accidentally get it all the way back and have it slip. You may not get it locked into place. There's a variety of things that can happen when you're doing it with your hand. So manually cocking your crossbow is the last thing that you want to do if you've got another choice. That being said, you start by bending over, grabbing onto the string, and you want your hands to be as close to this rail as possible so that you keep it as much as you can. You want to try and keep that center part right in the center when you get up to the top. Step into the stirrup and hold it down solid. Grab onto the string, hands on both sides of the rail as close as you can get it. Pull straight up until you hear it lock. Slowly release, make sure that it's hooked in there, and double check that it's in a safe position. And that's how you manually cock your crossbow. This is a rope cocking device. Essentially, it's about a 6-foot long, fairly thick string with a couple of T-shaped handles and a couple of hooks. These hooks slide along on the string, and they both end up facing the same direction on the string, so when you put them on there, it's going to be up in the right direction. Now, using these work just like a block and tackle method. So when we put it onto our crossbow and we go to pull, it's going to reduce that draw weight in half. So with this being a 150-pound crossbow, it's going to reduce the draw weight down to 75 pounds. To use it, we need to find the center of the string, and then in most cases, right at the base of the sight rail is usually a little groove that is called a dovetail. Well, this one doesn't have a groove right there, so I'm not going to be able to use that spot. But we still have two alternative places to hook it. One, we can hook it up behind the stock. Or two, we can hook it up behind the trigger guard. Both places will work just fine. So go ahead and take my hooks, get them onto the string. I'll take the middle of it here. Bring it back. So now you can see I have the rope hooked behind the string, or behind the trigger guard, and onto the string. Both of my hooks are pointing outward in the same direction. So now, all I need to do is stand up. Make sure this is in the fire position. Stand up. Here it's locked into place. Now, make sure that I've got it in the safe position. Another method is to hook it up behind the stock. So once again, hook it behind the stock here. Put my hooks on the string. And again, stand up. Okay, now here's a tip for you. If you're trying to do this and you're finding that when you go to stand up, you're having to pull those strings so far up into the air that you're having a hard time getting it to catch at the very end, you can go ahead and shorten your string so that you don't have to pull as far. So what we'll do is we would hook it onto there, pull it back. We'll make a little mark right about there on the string. When we come to that mark, we just kind of hold it. When you go to the end of your T-handle, that string just pulls out. So, shorten it down to where our mark is at, and go ahead and put a little knot right there. Now we've shortened our string. By this much, we can now get out there hook onto it, pull the string up a little bit. We can hook onto it with the other side. And now you can see that we have a much shorter pull when we go to pull up these handles because we've taken off that much in distance. So now we can grab onto it, pull it up very quickly and easily. You can cut this off if you want to, or you can leave it on in case you want to have a longer stringer or a longer rope cocking device again. This is a direct draw sled cocking device, otherwise called a direct draw, a sled cocking device, or a straight pull. It's composed of several different parts. You have your T-shaped handles, you have these stiff ropes, and then you have this part here which fits on top of your crossbow. Now this part up here, as you can see, has these grooves right there. So you're able to just lay it right on top of your rail, and it's perfectly centered. Second thing it has is it's got these little hooks right there, and that's what's going to fit into your string. So what we're going to do is be laying this right on top of your rail. These are going to hook onto the string and you pull it straight up. There's not going to be any sort of reduction in force with this method, so if you're pulling a 125-pound crossbow, it's going to mean pulling it 125-pound strength. To use it, you simply take the device, lay it down on top of the rail, and the hooks are going to go right behind that string. Step into your crossbow stirrup, Make sure that you've got it in fire mode. You go ahead, and in this case here, because you're using your it's going to be using the full draw weight, you're going to want to look forward or at least lift your chin upwards so that it helps straighten out your back and helps to reduce back problems. Pull it up slowly, and when you get to the top, listen for your click. When you hear that click, slowly lower it back down to make sure it's connected, and you're ready to go. This crossbow has what's known as a crank cocking device. It's basically a handle with a cranking mechanism, a bobbin that has the thread wrapped around it, or the rope I should say wrapped around it, and this sled that is connected to the ropes. Well, what happens is we have a couple of things that we need to do in all of these crossbow crank cocking devices. First thing you're going to want to do is release the mechanism so that you're able to unwind the rope. Now, what we're going to do is, you see this sled here, it's got hooks in it. We're going to put those hooks right there next to the string. Crank it back a little bit. And we want to make sure that we've got the sled centered right in the middle of the rail. And then bring it on back. Put my foot in the stirrup to make sure that it's nice and solid. We'll make sure that I've got it in the fire position. And now, just something of interest, most of these crank cocking devices come with a handle that you can either put on one side or the other, depending on if you're right or left-handed. So I'm going to go ahead and start cranking this up. As you can see, the more I crank it, the more the string is coming up. But if I let go right now and my hand slips, it's going to come ripping right back down. That's why many of your crossbow crank cocking devices have a clutch built in. It's a little switch that you're going to click into place, and then you'll notice that as we wind up, we have this clicking sound. This clicking sound is a clutch that keeps it from slapping back down in case we let go. Watch as I let go now. Even though the string is partially cranked, I can let go and nothing happens. That string stays nice and held in place. A little bit noisy, but it's good protection for your crossbow. In our case, we're going to go ahead and reel it on in. Here's the first click. And this crossbow needs 2 clicks before it's sealed into place, so I now know that that is clicked in. So now, I'm going to go ahead, flip my little switch back here on the crank cocking handle to give it a free rein, and begin lowering it back down slowly to make sure that it hooked. It did, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this clear, wind it back up and get it out of my way. Make sure that this is in a safe position, and my crossbow is now cocked. So in summary, in this lesson we have gone through the 4 major methods for cocking your crossbow. As you have seen, different types of crossbows may use different techniques for cocking, and there is no single method that works perfectly on all crossbows. If you have found this tutorial to be helpful to you, please consider giving it a thumbs up and help me score a direct hit. If you would like to learn more about crossbows, techniques, and products, please consider subscribing to this channel. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy your crossbow.